Hey, Jesse, good. How are you? Hey, Troy. How are you tonight? Thank you guys for joining me. Storming Alaska, how are you? I am doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. I've got my Mexican Coca-Cola. Life doesn't get any better. And my live stream with you guys. What's up, Brian Beard? How are you? Jason, how are you, buddy? I've got 3 lot lizard stories tonight and a shit ton of encounters. We're going to have some fun. Hey, Sean Pethel, how are you? Sniff it out, SoCali Highlander. What's up, No Merc Delirium? How are you? It's not windy too bad here. You consider Messina, you're in Messina, right, Troy? You consider Messina the Adirondacks? Do you guys really get up there? I didn't know that. I have family and friends that live up there, and I never thought they did. Hey, Chevy, aka Ford Sucks. How are you? I know you as Samurai Sean. I do know you as Samurai Sean. Just above them. Ha ha! Fucking ain't right, brother. Well, the woods up there are just as dense as the Adirondacks. I mean, you've got lumberjacks up in there. Pouring rain in Alaska. It's better than snow. Hey, Carol, how are you? Raven, how are you? Did you call me Rush? Rush Limbaugh. What's up, Dana? How are you? Claire Harris, how are you? Stacy Mathis. So yeah, we got 3 lot lizard experiences tonight. I'm looking forward to sharing them with you guys. Been in VA. Oh shit. No, Merc, I'm glad that you're here with us, my friend. Yeah, we have very little snow. I'm actually really pissed because I had a guy take a look at a picture of a little ghost boy. He was definitely in the photo. Definitely. I bought new snowshoes and I have not been able to use them because we don't have any snow. I want fucking snow. You're good, Sean. You're good. What's up, Woodsman? How are you, buddy? No, Woodsman. I have not been able to get it out yet. The publisher, I say it every week. You haven't been here in a while, I presume. So the publisher has not allowed me to. I edited the forward, removed 2 chapters, and edited the outro. I did everything they wanted me to do, and they still have not allowed me to take it out. Rick, how are you? Thoughts from Rhode Island? How are you? We have about 4 inches of ice. God damn. 4 inches of ice sucks. That sucks. Mad Dog, how are you? Thank you for that email. I did email you back today. MJ Bates, how are you? Randall Kennedy, how are you, buddy? But Mad Dog, thank you. I just want to let you know, I did email you back. Where is Aramic? I didn't see Aramic. How come I didn't see Aramic? Aramic! There you are. What's up, buddy? How are you? Nicola? Susan from New Jersey? No, I did not. I don't even know what Planet 412 is. Sorry I missed you. Haha, Aramic. Carrie, how are you? Mad Dog, you rock. Woodsman, I am going to be hopefully getting it out. I purposely shared 4 old interviews with Victor the other day to see if anybody responded, like whatever, and contacted the publisher, but they haven't gotten back to me yet. But that was at the end of the week, so hopefully. Wesley September, how are you? Dude, I was so hungry that before the live stream, I fucking made ramen noodles, and my stomach hurts so bad right now. Like it feels like somebody gut punched me. Randall Kennedy, thank you for being you, and thank you for being you. I want to be Aramic. What are you talking about? Aramic is like the absolute. My brain just shut off. Holy shit. Hello? Aramic is the expert on Mothman. No Merc. You're good, brother. You're good, No Merc. What's up, Lizard Hunter? Nicholas Carroll, how are you, my friend? Mert, what's going on? Boss Monster. Oh, fuck, dude. That helped my stomach feel a lot better. Skin cancer went good. Awesome. Awesome. I'm so happy for you. What's up, Poppy? Dude, that was filthy. That was so filthy. I'm surprised you guys didn't get any on you. Sasquatch and Grandma. Darren K, how are you? SDL, how are you? John Sumner. Amy Grafton. Wait, Grattan. Sorry. Johnny Ohm. Johnny Ohm. How do you notice super sticker but not mine? I didn't see your super sticker. I'm sorry, Johnny Ohm. I was in the middle of talking. I apologize completely. Thank you, Johnny Ohm. But thank you for bringing that to my attention, brother. Appreciate that. Jeff, do you like Zen pouches? Here's a funny story. So, because I had the surgery and there's a little gap between my gum and my fucking, so where the anchor bolts are, right? So these are the temps. And there's like a little tiny gap. I put a Zen in the other day, and the fucking thing got stuck in between my gum and the anchor bolt and my fucking implant. And I had a 9 milligram one. And I'll tell you what, I got real Nicky high at that point. I was like, it was pretty interesting. Once again, Johnny Ohm, I apologize, bro. I am so sorry I missed that. Dustin, how are you? Adam Condon. You should all see my forehead flap. No, thank you. No, thank you. I pray for your forehead flap, but I do not want to see that shit. I will puke in your forehead flap if I see it. That is gross. Just kidding. No, I can't handle shit like that. I'll be like, just kidding, Mer. I don't want to see no pics. What's up, audio? How are you? Tim Owen, how are you? Coker! So 3 lot lizard stories, a Lola lot lizard, another infamous Lizo the lot lizard chapter, and Pete the gay lot lizard will be joining us tonight, and I think we'll have some fun with those fuckers. What's up, Kim? How are you? Kim Duckworth. Your last name sounds like English royalty. Toot 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 cheerio. My name is Kim Duckworth. Top of the morning to ya. Would you like some spotted dick and some cucumber sandwiches? Daryl Williams, what's up? That's a higher count than John Wick. Do you have a non-day lot? A what? Do you have a non-day lizard stories tonight? I don't know what that means, Amy Grant or Grattan. Non-day. Do you have a non-day lizard story? I meant to say, do you? Yes. I have Pete the gay lot lizard tonight. Lola and Lizo. Another chapter of Lizo. And Peter gets some real interesting craziness. Oh, non-gay? No. Because then I'd have to like come up with something completely different. It'd be too hard for me. Teresa Wilkins, how are you? Mike Chaplin, how are you? We'll start the night off. The second stomach hurts. Oh God, that goddamn ramen noodles. No, I think it's the Mexican Coke that's doing it. Goddamn that Mexican Coke. No, I don't. You can watch the old lives, Amy, and find them. I don't have them. I have not saved them. I'm sorry. No, I don't think direct energy weapons are a part of the LA fires. Just like I don't think that about Hawaii. I honestly think that quite possibly it was an insurance hustle. I'm not even going to go down a rabbit hole or any kind of conspiracy on that, just because I think it more or less was an insurance bullshit. And, I don't believe that at all. Thank you, Arabic. Appreciate you. Janet Ramsey, how are you? Could be. Rockin' steady, how are you? That direct energy weapons were responsible for the fires. I think I mean, I think there is something that happened. I think there's something that happened with Hawaii, obviously, but there's a reason why the insurance companies pulled out months before in both areas. I really think that maybe, but I don't know. I just I don't want to I don't even want to wear that tinfoil hat, to be quite frank with you. I mean, it could be, but could not be. I have quite a few from Alberta. I'll do a worldwide encounter someday in the next couple of weeks here. Maybe next week I will. Lindman, what's up, buddy? How's it hanging? Yeah, someone started them, but there's a reason why I believe that the insurance companies pulled out. They just. Hi, Janet Ramsey. Are you leaving already? Hi, Jeff. Have a great night. I don't know what that means. Are you leaving? Did you just come in to say hi? Or are you staying and hanging out? What's going on, Richard? How are you? Okay, good. What's up, Georgianne? Donna? About 15 years ago, I was living along the Uvis Creek in my hometown of Gilroy, California. It was late summer, around 12:30 in the morning to shortly after 1 a.m., when my two other companions and I heard screaming sound of death coming further down from us. I was already planning to go outside and check on my neighbor's tent close to where we heard the high-pitched cry of something being killed. The tent was empty, like it should be. I started to take the trail back to my spot. It wasn't very dark because of the moon being full. It was almost in front. I was almost in front of my spot when I heard the sound of air 3 times. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I turned toward the creek and looked at the bend, not expecting to see what I saw. From behind the trees and shrubs was a black, devilish, gargoyle-looking, bat-winged, 8 to 10 foot tall, red-eyed, red-mouthed, floating, not flying creature. Its skin is a dense, rubbery type of skin. Now remember, he was floating past me, not knowing I was watching it. In my head, I repeated, "Don't look at me, don't look at me," over and over, staying perfectly still. It continued to float past, and my friend, looking out for me, said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Come here, come here." As the creature approaches the next bend, Rich sees the back of it and says to me, "WF was that? WTF was that?" Well, for the past 15 years, I have shared this experience of that night, hoping someone would believe me. Well, you know what happens. People think you're crazy. Finally, this year of 2024, 4 others say they also had seen it in the past 6 months twice. The thing that really bothers me now is how it could have stayed afloat in the air, only flapping its wings 3 times. No way. It's impossible. It was going too slow to stay up, but it did. I know what I saw that night, and nothing is going to change my mind. Andy Davis, Spirit Level, how are you? Mammy J. Hall, Wood Real Honky, what's going on? Samara, how are you? Alan Howell, Randy Man. Sonia, how are you tonight? Andy Davis looking dapper as usual tonight. Looking dapper. What's up, 4,000? I'm glad you're here with us, Spirit Level. Azu, how are you? That is definitely not a word you hear too often, isn't it, Aramic? I'm a Dapper Dan man. Lonnie, how are you tonight? From Carlsbad, New Mexico. Gary, what about me? I know, ever so slowly, Larry Lindman, ever so slowly. I gotta think of something big to do when we do hit 100,000. When we hit 100,000, we gotta figure something out. Is that cop out there tonight? You know what's weird is the cop is not there tonight, and I'm a little bothered by that. One, I feel like I'm being ignored, and two, where'd he go? Jane Doe, how are you? It bothers me too. I wish he was here. I felt safe. I don't deal with rejection very well, Rock and Steady. I just don't deal with it. I know, Alan Howell. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. What did I miss? He better not be in my house. Tigger would fuck him up. Tigger would fucking bounce right on him. Blue Days, how are you? Sasquatch and Grandma, how are you? Sorry I missed you. If I missed anybody, it's not purposely done. I swear to God, I try to say hi to everybody, including Five Rings. Joseph Vera, I'm glad that you said hi tonight. Pine Knot, how are you? I was born a guy. I'm still a guy. My mom just picked the name. Fuck. That's great. That's a cool name. Stacy Peralta was a guy. Stacy Peralta was a badass too. So you're a badass, Stacy. Southwest Kentucky says hi. Hi back to Southwest Kentucky. I knew someone was going to say the Sioux thing. I knew it. No cigarettes. Dude, you just had skin cancer fucking surgery, Mert. No cigarettes. Christ's sakes. Rampage Jackson, how are you? I know two people named Shannon. Blue Days, have a good night. Thank you for popping in. What's up, Derek Bunn? I am from south of Mexico. Something very likely. The skinwalker of Native American people. Yeah, Nanahela. Or, yeah. Nahalas. Yeah, I've done a couple uploads on that. Actually, I've done quite a few, like years ago when I started this story or started this channel. James, how are you? Oh, fuck. All right, that one. And that one. And this one looks real. This one looks really promising right here. This one looks very promising. This was around 2015. I'm not sure of the month, but it was around 11 p.m. at night. I was driving from my dad's place to my mom's. My dad owned 75 acres of spooky property. We live in the Florida Panhandle. Anywho, I'm driving. I had just started down the long driveway when I felt like I was being watched. Not cool, but it happens more often than you would believe. I'm nearing the highway when I see a dark shape at the edge of the woods. Oh well, probably a deer. I shake it off. We have tons of wildlife in the area, from deer to panther and to the occasional bear. Then it starts chasing me. Keep in mind, please, that this is somewhat normal in my head. I have tons of weird shit that happens, and it's not like it's just barreling at me. It just moved after my car staying at the edge of the woods. So I keep my pace. I turn onto the highway and sped up to 50 miles an hour or so. I keep noticing something in my peripheral. So I slow down and start looking for what it could be. A few yards behind me, I see this huge dog. I grew up with large dogs. My aunt has a St. Bernard mix growing up. And I've had various large dogs. This thing is literally the size of my car. Bears do not chase cars, and we only have black bear, which are like the most docile kind. Okay, now I'm freaking out. I do have a gun releasing a long stream of curses and telling my car to get over. It's a poorly kept 95 Honda Accord. I seemingly cannot shake it for too long, so in an act of bravery, really stupid, I pull over in a church parking lot thinking maybe it's some sort of hell beast and it won't come into the light or onto church property. Well, was I ever wrong? I stop and get my phone out to call my boyfriend. In that period, it catches up, jumps onto my car. I can see and feel and hear the metal popping and creaking. I then see drool splatter on my windshield. I'm screaming. I drop my phone. It jumps off of my car onto the hood, where I get a glimpse of it before it goes into the cemetery and disappears. Gated cemetery, it jumped the fence. It was definitely a dog, built like a Roddy Pitt mix, but darker and larger. It was solid black with paws the size of dinner plates. It had a huge head, almost the size of my car window. I don't know why it decided to leave me alone, but it did, and I am thankful. I called my boyfriend crying. He calmed me down, listened, and told me that when I got home, I should take pictures of the damage, and I did, or tried at least. By the time I got to my mom's, the only thing left was a single dent in my roof of my car and some fake claw marks that were more like indentations in the metal. Why did the damage disappear? Was it corporeal? Was it a corporeal creature or a supernatural beast? Thank you for letting me share. Has anybody seen Jane? Maggie Mayhem, how are you? Has anyone seen Janie tonight? Let me make sure she's okay. I won't be there tonight. Wicked fever. Oh, shit. I just asked everybody if they saw you and went to check. I hope you feel better. So does everybody else. Prayers to Janie. Janie ain't going to be here tonight. Janie got a fever and a throat ache. Oh, shit. What's up, Margie? Winter, Sky, how are you? Do you guys remember the time she didn't show up and I called her on the live? Made her talk to you guys. What's up, Herman Audette? How are you? Dude, I got my new LL Bean PJ pants on. Want to see them? Look at these new LL Bean PJ pants. They match my LL Bean PJ shirt. I'm LL Bean PJ boy. I love LL Bean too. Going golfing later. I like the colors too, True South. Rockin' steady. The TRT is making it different. Ooh. I love plaid. I like this color. I don't understand, Larry. I don't understand the comment. Please elaborate for me. Can you tell me about the Rugaru? Rugaru. Well, the Rugaru is our all Dogman chip. No, Steve. No. According to now I understand. Thank you, Larry. Yes, I am now lately, actually. All right. according to Victor, no, not all were, and that's he hunted those and he hunted chipped ones. Rugaru, Derek Bunn. According to Creole legend, now this is not Reddit, this is not creepypasta, this is real. There's a Rugaru society in Louisiana, and I actually called them and spoke to them one time. Very nice people. Now, the Rugaru is a shapeshifter. It's not a dogman. As much as people want it to be or think it should be, it is not a dogman. It is a shapeshifter. It is similar to, not really similar to a skinwalker, but other than it can shapeshift, it can appear as a canine-like creature, an alligator-like creature, a black mist, sometimes like a cat creature. It's just Cajun lore. Very interesting. I need to do a little more uploads on them. Speaking of that, a new subscriber of mine sent me. They're gonna have an online store soon. This is a shirt. It's got long sleeves. It's got my initials on the sleeve somewhere. It's a little big, He sent me a 3X. I'm a large, but they're sick. They're good quality, very smooth. And then he sent me a hoodie. There's the name. There's my initials on the sleeve. But he's going to have an online store. So when he gets it up, I'm going to share that for you guys too. More, yes, please, more explanation. Well, just like the Gugwe is a Micmac name for, and Micmac is a Native American tribe for a creature that is not a dogman, and it is not a Bigfoot. It is a creature similar to a Bigfoot and similar to a dogman. It has a short muzzle and no tail. So what Victor called the werewolf. What's up, Sonny? How are you? In Aramaic, did you notice something? The one shirt matches the tapestry that you sent me. I'm putting the tapestry up in the studio. I'm going to paint the studio downstairs sometime this week and put that tapestry up. Then I'm going to take these pictures down here and put like half of the pictures, the poster things you sent me, brother, and put them up here, and then put the others downstairs. No, it's not a mix. They can't mix. According to Victor, they can't mix. And I mean, genetically, unless there was some mad scientist involved, I wouldn't think they could mix. You know what I mean? It's like a hyena screwing a wolf. It's not going to happen. You know, it's just it's an improbable situation. Maybe they could screw, but I don't think they had children. But you know what I mean? Ugh. You guys want a lot lizard story? Busuf. I said your name completely wrong. You guys want a lot lizard story or what? Huh? Yeah? No? Coker doesn't want one? Coker, you're a bad man. No, Jane Doe, they never conversed. All right. We'll save the list. Actually, we're going to do the list. We'll save that one for later. All right. Aramek! Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. I'll give you a little kissy. That's for you, baby. The Legend of Lola. Busifus, thank you so much. The Legend of Lola in the Screaming Semis. The stretch of I-40 west of Amarillo was notorious for two things: dust devils that could swallow a small car whole, and the Legend of Lola. They called her Lola the Load, a nickname whispered with a mix of disgust, fear, and strange, almost morbid fascination. Around greasy tables of the truck stops, Lola the Load wasn't your typical lot lizard. She was a force of nature, a human landmine wrapped in leopard print and smelling vaguely of stale French fries and cheap lavender. Now, truckers, bless their wary souls, have seen some things. They've dodged deer the size of Volkswagens, weathered hailstorms that sound like bowling balls, and navigated through cities where the road signs seem to be written in a language only pigeons can understand. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared them for Lola. Word had it that Lola wasn't just selling companionship. She was an innovator, a sort of perverted mad scientist of pleasuring arts. Her particular brand of hospitality involved an arsenal of sex toys that looked like they had been cobbled together from spare parts of defunct space shuttle and a garden gnome convention. It was rumored that some of these devices had a mind of their own, or at least made noises that sounded like they did. Old Man Jenkins, a silverback trucker with a beard that could rival a Brillo pad, swore he saw one of her contraptions twitch in her duffel bag. He backed out of that truck stop faster than a greasy piglet in a thunderstorm, his rig practically levitating 3 inches off the ground. And the stink, oh, the stink. It was a legend all on its own. A body odor, bad perfume, and something Jenkins swore smelled suspiciously like pickled onions. It clung to you, permeated your clothes, haunted your dreams. Some truckers claimed they could still smell Lola weeks after a near miss. A phantom fragrance that followed them down the highway. A constant and unsettling reminder of the horrors that lurked at truck stop. The horror wasn't just about the mechanical misadventures Lola offered, though. For many of these hardened men who spent their days and nights alone, the real terror came from the sheer violation of their personal space. They were used to isolation, the open road. Lola is an invasion, a raunchy, sweaty, aggravating force that shattered the quiet solitude they'd come to rely on. But here's the funny part, the part that turned Lola from a boogeyman into a legend. Despite the horror and disgust, there is always a story, always a chuckle shared over a coffee pot at the next stop. Because, let's be honest, nobody else had a story quite like the time Lola tried to explain the reasons her vibrating garden gnome while I was trying to fill my tank. These were the kinds of tales that kept truckers awake on long hauls, the kind of twisted camaraderie born of shared trauma. There was a story of Digger Davidson, a man who prided himself on his fearlessness. They say Lola cornered him in the shower room, wielding a device that looked suspiciously like a mascara made of rubbers. He emerged dripping and shell-shocked, proclaiming that he had seen the face of God, and it had a very distinct rubberized texture. Or the legend of Big Rig Rick, who claimed his pet chihuahua, Princess Fluffy Butt, had developed a nervous twitch after a brief encounter with Lola's equipment. Lola, unwittingly, had become a kind of twisted anti-hero, a cautionary tale wrapped in a layer of cheap body spray and improbable sex toy technology. She was a kind of legend that made you squirm and laugh all at the same time, the kind that you'd never admit to enjoying, but would secretly retell every time the highway seemed a little too long and the night a little too quiet. And every time a trucker felt a strange phantom vibration in their seat, they knew that somewhere out there on the open road, Lola the Load was probably preparing for her next invasion. And they both shuddered and grinned, knowing that their next trip down I-40 might just yet wield a legendary tale of Lola in the screaming semis. I don't care what anyone says. That one was awesome. She smelled like pickled onions. I live off of I-40. It's gross. That was the goal, Bucephus. Oh. This happened the summer of 2023 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'd gone for a walk at around 8 or 9 p.m. I was walking on the street with a big park on one side and a couple of baseball diamonds surrounded by forest on the other. I wasn't particularly paranoid or on high alert or anything. I stopped under the streetlight to light a cigarette, and for some reason, the forest across the street caught my attention. I don't really know how to explain it. Anyway, I kept walking until the forest part I was watching was right across the street from me, and I stopped. I was just looking at it, and all of a sudden I heard my girlfriend's voice come from the forest saying, "Hey!" It sounded really happy. I knew my girlfriend was still at home, so I just did what I thought would be the best and ignored it and kept walking. I was creeped out. After I got a block or so away, I turned around and saw a really tall, dark silhouette stand up from behind a minivan parked down the street. I was officially scared and ran the whole way home. It was pretty creepy, but it kicked off a bunch of messed up stuff that started happening to me for the next several months. I can try and describe it better. When I saw it coming toward me at work, it moved kind of weirdly, like it was not very good at walking. It didn't move fast. Every now and then I saw its eyes, but they were different colors every time. They were red sometimes and yellow sometimes. I thought that was strange, so I asked a few people I know about it, and I got a lot of responses saying it may be a demon. I definitely felt afraid of it. I didn't go outside much for a while. My girlfriend told me around that time she thought something was attached to her and had been for a long time. So I did some cleansing stuff for both of us, and it went away for a while. Every now and then I hear weird stuff outside our window at night, like whistling that doesn't sound like it's a person. And my girlfriend said the other night she heard my voice in the kitchen when I wasn't home. So I think it is still around. I haven't actually seen anything for a while, but we're both hearing stuff still sometimes. At this point, it's just making me mad because I have more important things to worry about. And I don't like being messed with. This is my first time dealing with this kind of thing. Not a doppelganger. A doppelganger, Aramik, is more like seeing yourself. Legend has it that Lola, the lot lizard, started high-end clothing line using her initials and her favorite musical fruit called LL Bean. That's a good one, Darren. SDL, if you should sage your home. I think I'm gonna go seek out Lola the load this week. I don't care. That was one of my better ones. I really think I outdid myself on that one. Last week's were good too. Last week's were really good. This one's very, very creepy. And for those of you who like and know that vampires are real, because they really are. I don't think they look like Dracula or not. I can't even say the name right now. My brain just shut off completely. Oh, but they exist. So my mom has worked at a small rural hospital in eastern Iowa for 6 years. She's an ER receptionist. So she is the first person you see when you come into the emergency room, the one to give you all of the paperwork to fill out and such. Throughout these 6 years, she has worked mostly nights, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and has seen the town's cast of characters. Every transient, druggie, and local has passed through that lobby, and she has seen each one at least twice. But one night she encountered something she had never seen before or again since. Back in the first year, my mom was quick to get the hang of things, so she was left alone to work the counter. The ER faced a parking lot, so she could see people coming in from far away and anticipate their moves. One night at around 2 in the morning, she was working on the computer and looked up and was surprised to see two people standing there, a man and a woman, just standing there, staring at her, and she stared back. The parking lot was dark, no car in sight, and they just appeared. After a long moment, they came into the lobby and went right up to the desk. My mom said the alarm bells started going off in her head, that something was not right. For one thing, they were very tall. The desk my mom sat behind, would have come up mid chest to the average person. With these people, my mom could see their pelvic bone of the woman. They were dressed for cooler weather, even though it was summer. They were both very skinny, and my mom emphasized this, very dry looking, but they did not look like your typical druggie. The woman kept stroking her neck with long fingers. She said she had a sore throat. My mom, for the first and only time, didn't say a word. She just looked at them. A word kept repeating in her head, Strigoi, Strigoi. As my mom looked at them, the woman looked at the man, looked back at my mom, then at the man again, the whole time just smiling and stroking her throat, and said to the man, "Do you think she will let us through? Or should we go somewhere else?" My mom stayed silent as the woman repeated the pattern of looks, and then they both smiled at my mom and left. Almost after, my mom texted me asking if vampires needed permission to enter places like hospitals. I told her that since she was technically the person to say who went back to the ER, they would need to get her permission. We both knew that the Sergoi was a type of Romanian vampire, and that was the word she kept hearing in her mind. She has never seen that couple again, and we still talk about what happened. And it does make me wonder when I hear stories of these black eyed kids and other tales of vampires, what did she see that night? And how close was she to something unnatural? All right, Sumner, we can't have conversations like that in the live, bud. There's women in the live. Please. What's up, Ginger? How are you, buddy? Try to drink this again without getting a stomach ache. Yeah, Barron. No, Barron looked pretty good in the inauguration. I thought Barron looked pretty good. Like he looked like. I think Barron's going to do some amazing things throughout his life. I hope that he's very young still, so I hope that he watches like his dad, JD Vance, especially JD Vance. And I think that he'll do good because I know that he wants to he's like 6'9". He does seem very humble. He does, but he wants to be in government like his dad. And I think that he will do very good. I really do. You know, if he just watches certain people like and doesn't forget like, hey, you know, he represents us as a whole. Like I think he could learn a lot from like sitting down with JD Vance, Josh Hawley, and people like that. And maybe just maybe he could be our 53rd president someday. Quite a bit. I bet you there's quite a bit that go to the school with him. Rockin' steady. Have a good night, brother. He is a Virgo. He was born in September. Yeah, he's 6'9". Patrice, I bet you he said, my finger is really long, Joe. It's time for that prostate exam. Just kidding. Oh, shit. He did. His face was a smile. You're right. Holy shit. I didn't think about that. His face was a smile, and he did look scared. He went. Barron's got some long fingers, though. He is a fucking gangster. Oh, fun fact. His thumb is huge. Jesus. No, he's 6'9", Charles Whitmore. 6'9". 6'9". I don't think he will. I think he's going to be like he's humble already, you know? He's very humble. He doesn't look like his brothers. His brothers, you know, they look very, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the all the other Trump children. I think Barron, based on his mom and the amount of time that she spent with him, I think he's a very humble person. And I think, you know, I really like him. I think he's a good kid. He's a good fucking kid, you know? The book is called, I think it's like The Legend of Baron Trump or something. The Misadventures of Baron Trump or The Adventures of Baron Trump is the book, I believe. He does look like his dad. He's got that hair. He's got that cool ass fucking Trump hair. DL, have a good night. Maybe what he said was, he is about the size of the Undertaker. So maybe what he said to Biden is, I'm gonna fucking tombstone you. Dude, I wouldn't want to fight Barron Trump. Nick Hendricks, what's up? First of all, you'd have like 20 Secret Service agents on you. I'll just send fucking Lizo after him. Maybe, Danny. He said something awesome. Maybe he said, I hope your asshole falls out in your pants, buddy. The Baron Taker. It happened in the mid-'80s. I was involved in a seminar for what later I learned was a New Age cult type of deal. I got out of there. Happy. But what happened was, after you would complete a session, the instructor would walk in front of you and ask you for their catchphrase, which was, do you get it? This gal, who was about 30 years old, stood in front of me. I looked at her and I did not see any whites in her eyes. The thing that really struck me was the ceiling was only 10 feet high and it had a lot of fluorescent lighting in there. I did not see the reflection, even from the lighting, and it was absolutely disturbing. I was in printing for years. I really know how to pay attention to detail, and it was just absolutely freaked me out. I was done at that point. It was just a very calm demeanor about her, but her eyes, guys, they were jet black, and I will never forget it. Every time I see oh yeah, Andy Davis. Or wait a second. Thank you, Andy Davis. You know what he might have said? And this is like being for real, like just being real about this. Because prior to the inauguration, Biden had pardoned family members that hadn't even been investigated yet, just to like level the playing field to make sure none of his family members get in trouble. And he did it minutes before walking into the inauguration, like minutes before. Trump didn't even fucking know about it. Barron probably during that had his phone and fucking got some sort of message, saw some sort of message. Biden pardons family members prior to inauguration. And then bam. And that's what he said. He fucking yoked that little frail hand and said, I know what you did, old man. You're fucking dead. Or he said, I saw you at that truck stop, Joe. I saw you at the truck stop. This one is very, very, very creepy. I think you guys will like this one quite a bit. Yeah, I'm not sure if they can get overturned though, because some political analysts were talking about it even tonight. Prior to I was listening to some stuff, so I'm not really sure. Seen a Dogman near Tranny Tech 75. Send me that, please. I want to hear you. I want to hear all about that, please, my friend. Please. No, he was talking about pardoning his other family members at that point, John. He wasn't talking about the family members that he pardoned right before. He already knew about pardoning his son and other people like that, but he wasn't talking about what he did prior to coming in. He did it like fucking seconds before he walked in. Yeah, there's 3 planets aligning up right now. All right, this is very, very creepy and very sad too. Good night, Randy, man. Angel Maria Tona is a 52-year-old rancher who owns 3,000 acres of farmland 15 kilometers or 9 miles south of Salto, Uruguay, a city of 40,000 people located on the Uruguay River. The ranch is primarily a cattle ranch, and Mr. Tona's two sons, 19 and 22 of age, and 11 farm hands, 10 to 730 cattle, and numerous sheep. The Tona family led a relatively uneventful life in their rural home until February and March of this year, when Tona and the 2 sons, Mrs. Tona, and their 15-year-old daughter and the farmhands began seeing UFOs in the area. They had approximately a dozen sightings during this time. The most interesting incident took place at around 4 a.m. February 18th, when Tona and his foreman, Juan Manuel Fernandez, was driving about 80 cattle into the barn for milking. When Tona gets up in the morning, the first thing he does is turn on the generator, which powers approximately 20 lights in the barnyard area. On the morning in question, Tona said he was bringing the cattle in at around 4:10 a.m. when all of the lights went out, whereupon a bright light appeared on the east end of the barn, the end furthest from him, and he was able to make out the shadow of the barn. Tona originally thought it was a power outage or it was a short circuit. Tona jumped over the fence and ran towards the source of light at the end of the barn. His dog, Topo, Dunce in Spanish, who was a constant companion during Tona's walks around the ranch, was with him. Then I heard a noise, he said, and he saw a fiery disc like 2 plates placed face to face, hovering a short distance above the ground behind him. He stood and watched the object until his foreman told him the cows were running away. Then he noticed that the cows were going crazy and all of the dogs were barking. At this point, the disc began to move in a southerly direction, breaking off the branches of a tree near the barn. The object displayed a rocking motion as it flew and stopped and hovered over some trees about 100 yards south of the barn at an altitude of about 60 feet. It stayed there only for a moment, then moved east another 75 yards or so. It stopped above a concrete bath that the cows were forced to walk through to disinfect them. By then, Tona and his dog, a 60-pound black and brown police dog, had run back to the west side of the barnyard and climbed back over the fence. The light from the object illuminated the whole barnyard, and Tona said he felt attracted to it. Tona and his dog walked a few feet toward the UFO, and it made another turn and began moving toward them. It came to a stop about 60 feet from them, and the dog ran toward it to attack it and protect Tona, but stopped and sat on a small mound about 15 feet from the object and looked up at it and howled. When the object started moving toward Tona, he noticed 6 beams of light, like small wings, 3 on each side. At that point, Tona said he felt an electric shock that went through his body, and a very intense heat hit him. He flung his arm up over his face to shield his eyes. He said he felt attracted to the light and could not move. I didn't know if I couldn't move or didn't want to, he said. After several minutes, the object began moving away, turning from its original bright orange color to red. It increased its speed as the color changed, and when it got to the forest about a half a mile from the south, it was out of sight. When the object left, the generator started running again, but didn't produce any electricity because the wires were burnt. The whole incident lasted 10 minutes, and Tona's 19-year-old son, who is a second-year veterinarian student at the University of Salto, witnessed the whole episode from the house. The farm workers normally rise at 4:30, and those who were awake at the time saw only the bright light in the barnyard. Following the incident, the dog would not eat or drink. He moved around normally, but stayed in the house all day, which was very unusual for the dog. On one morning of the 3rd day after the incident, Topo was found dead on the same mound where he had howled at that disc. An autopsy was performed at the ranch by a veterinarian who teaches at the North University in Salto, and he was assisted by Tulio Tona and 3 other second-year veterinarian students. The doctor will not discuss the case, but he did let Tulio make a copy of the necropsy report, which said, in part, the hair along the dog's spine was sticky, but completely hard. The fat under the skin was found on the outside. The fat was normally solid, so to get to the outside, it had to be melted and come through its pores. Once it was outside, it solidified again. The animal was exposed to a very high temperature that cannot be reached naturally by a dog. All the blood vessels had been bleeding very much, that all the capillaries were broken. The rupture of the blood vessels was caused by an increase of temperature that could not be natural. The liver, normally dark and red, was completely yellow, caused by high fever. All the blood vessels were yellow as well. With all the blood vessels broken, the animal started bleeding inside and lost so much blood that 48 hours later, the amount of blood had circulated was insufficient, and he died of a heart attack. When we took the skin off the dog, we didn't see any marks. He didn't have any bruises or anything, nor was his hair burned. The conclusion was something very hot caused this. On the morning after the incident, the underside of Tona's right arm, which he had put up to shield his eyes, began hurting. Several days later, a Dr. Herrera, a friend of Tona's, aided the physician in Salto to paid the Tonas a personal visit. Tona confided that he wasn't feeling well, and Herrera examined him and found that the underside of Tona's right arm was very red, and after being told about the UFO incident, decided the irritation was caused by some kind of radiation. He suggested that Tona go and have a special examination, but Tona would have had to go 300 miles away, and he didn't want to take the time. Instead, he treated himself with some home remedies. Eventually, the ailing arm cleared up with no lingering after effects. Lucas Williams, what's up? How are you? Candace Kelly, how are you? Craigers, I didn't say hi to you, but hi, how are you? Sully, what's up, buddy? That's what I was thinking. What's up, SG? Welcome back. That's what I was thinking. Renegade, how are you? I was thinking that poor dog. Like that's a tragic way. It heated up that its fat melted outside of its body Ooh. Thank you, Gary. It is coming back nice. I can't wait until it's long again. Are you ever going to own a car that can drive itself? Your thoughts? No. I will never, unless Subaru decides to make a car that drives itself, I will never drive it. I will never own a car that drives itself. I don't think I'll ever own a car that's not a Subaru. Like a microwave, yeah. What's up there, Wolf? How are you, buddy? Randall Kennedy, thank you for the love earlier in the evening, and thank you. How long was your hair? Very long. Like, I don't know. Not long in the back. My hair was long though. Lindman, thank you, brother. Arabic, thank you. Thank you, Arabic. Thank you. Randall Kennedy, thank you again, brother. And you know what? Just for that, Randall Kennedy. $20 is $20. Thank you, Randall Kennedy. No mullets. No mullets. Theo Vaughn does a wonderful mullet. I will never get a mullet. Josh Baptist, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you, Candace Kelly. I've brought my shofar to the woods many times. I love my shofar, JP. What did I miss? What did I miss? Janie is not going to be here tonight. She is sick. Gary, we can go. We can go to the. We can go camping. Just don't tell anybody when you wake up with some. Well, you know. I'm trying to find some. I can't find it. Aramic gave you a membership, Lucas Williams. Aramic gave you a membership. My dog ran around like the 7th Cavalry. That's great. Camping under the stars with a couple of blankets. Yes, I believe so, Andy Davis. I believe portals do make a metallic sound when they open. I am not 100% sure. I know that I've captured it. A metallic noise where Tom Messick disappeared. And I was 2 miles in the middle of the woods. So the only thing I can think of was portal. And I do believe that orbs are something like, I think they have involvement in portals as well. Brokeback Mountain 2. Actually, Jane Doe, the reason why I have the shofar and blow the shofar is because of Tim Baker, my good friend, who had a Bigfoot come to his porch. Which it sounds like you know that story. But I heard the story when it happened. 2 nights after it happened, he told me. And then he moved from Missouri shortly thereafter. He was like, I'm fucking out of here. All right, Aramic. This one goes to you, buddy, for giving people memberships. Oh, 100% I do believe that, Scott. I believe that the Hadron Collider helps open portals. Salty Rant, how are you, my friend? Haven't seen you in a long time. Here we go. This one goes out to Aramic and his favorite cryptid, the Mothman. I would say around June 2013 in Salina, Utah, I was walking under a street lamp with a friend. He was talking, and I was looking up at the stars as we walked. We walked under a street lamp, and we walked under a street lamp that was also shining light upwards, plain as day. I saw a flying humanoid, head, body, arms, legs, almost like a human, fly above the street lamp, flying about 10 feet from the edge of the asphalt road, 30 to 40 feet off the ground, flying in an opposite direction as we walked. The creature was traveling south on the west side of the road. The height, I would say, was around the size of an adult male. Its arms, legs, and body were athletic looking, but looked like it hardly had any muscle. It had 5 fingers, just like us, but 3 toes. The toes narrowed down to a point, like a cone or triangle. It had 2 wings, one coming off of each shoulder. The length of the wings was about the length of the creature's arms. The wings were narrow and had very little surface area. I didn't see the creature flap its wings to fly. Its wings looked too small to support its body, plus the body was parallel to the ground and was elongated, like it was lying down while flying. The weight of its hips, legs, feet should have been sagging toward the ground. It had small hook-like things that came off the creature's legs, and the mid-calf area faced upward. I didn't see any breasts or a penis. I don't know what sex it was. Hopefully, it does not reproduce, but I am sure it does. I have told many people about what I saw that night, and guess what? Most people don't believe me. Although I did run into a guy who had seen one. I'd say the same species. He was camping also in Salina, Utah. It flew down, swooped at him, and made a creepy noise. You know, ED, I had an interview just like that on my channel the other day. Actually, it's a subscriber of mine. That's interesting. Thank you for your blessing. You are not, I'm not roasting you. I am not roasting you. I am not roasting you, Aramic. At all. This experience occurred near Ed Ray, West Virginia, one night 15 years back. My friend who was driving and I were talking, hang on. This experience occurred near Ed Ray, West Virginia, one night about 15 years back. My friend who was driving and I were taking his girlfriend home when he decided to take the long way home. As we are driving along a fairly deserted back road, I began to zone out and stared at a blinking red light off in the distance and casually thought to myself, I wonder when they built a cell phone tower all the way out here. Suddenly, the red light blinks, and it's dramatically closer than it was just a moment earlier. At this point, my friend points it out and stops on the road. It blinks once more and is directly in front and over top of us. The red light is so bright it floods the car in a deep scarlet hue. I lean forward so that I can see directly into the light. In that brief moment, I feel a flood of negative emotions. The closest description I can offer is that of being naked under a giant microscope and having every pore examined thoroughly. I then looked away from the light, then looked at my friend and asked him to drive. He barely responds, apparently in a similar state. He then snaps out of it and starts driving. As we get a little way down the road, I notice the red light isn't fading, and the interior of the car is still clearly lit by it. I look out the window, and to my horror, the light is following us and does so for approximately 2 miles. The light unexpectedly veers off to the left and comes down to the ground level in a patch of trees adjacent to the road. My friend stops the car again and continues to stare at it and abruptly declares he is going to get out and look at it like he is in some sort of trance. He opens the door and I grab his arm and tell him if he does, I will get in the driver's seat and leave him. That we had to leave that instant. He looks at me and seems to come to and punches the gas so hard that the tires lose traction and spin. The light remained stationary as we rode away, but I never looked at that night sky the same. No, it was a woman. It was a woman, Edie. And she was on a trail. Her name's Mary. She's been a subscriber of mine for years. What's up, Lizzie? How are you, dear? Kakalina, how are you? She's been a subscriber for years. She was walking her dog down a trail, like a walking path. And she looks up into the sky. The dog starts barking. And she looks up and she sees like this kind of rip in the sky. And she can see like another dimension. Almost exactly how you put it. I shared the experience probably, I don't know, a couple of months ago, actually, now I'm thinking about it. What's up, Nick? How are you, buddy? Speaking of big girls, I think it's time. Is it time for that second lot lizard story? Is it? Yes or no? All I need is 5 yeses. All right, here we go. No, it's Pete tonight, Wiley. It's Pete tonight. The West Virginia night was a thick, greasy blanket, the air heavy with the smell of diesel and desperation. The big rig stop, a lonely outpost on a forgotten stretch of highway, was a beacon of sorts, promising lukewarm coffee and a few hours of fitful rest. For long haulers, it was a necessary evil. And for Lizo, it was her hunting ground. Lizo, not your typical lot lizard. Oh, She worked the same trade as the others, leaning against rusty tailgates and too tight spandex, batting eyelashes at men weary from the road. But Lizo was different. For one, she was enormous, a mountain of a woman, with thighs that could crush a cinder block and a belly that strained to the seams of her already compromising outfits. She was far from glamorous, her face puffy and shiny with a sheen of sweat and something else, something unidentifiable and vaguely unsettling. And then there was her smile, a wide, toothy grin that seemed to touch too eager. Tonight, a trucker named Earl, a man whose face had more lines than a road map, pulled in. His rig groaned in protest. He'd been on the road for 18 hours straight and was hankering for something to take his mind off the endless pavement. He caught sight of Lizo leaning against a tractor trailer, her fluorescent pink top doing little to hide the rolls of flesh beneath. "Howdy, big fella," Lizo purred, her voice like gravel being tossed down a drain pipe. "You like you could use some company." Earl hesitated. Lizo wasn't exactly his type, but the loneliness of the road had a way of blurring the lines. "Just for a bit," he mumbled, climbing down from his cab. Lizo's eyes gleamed. She waddled toward him, her every step seeming to make the gravel crunch under her weight. She offered him a hand. It felt oddly cold and clammy, and guided him toward the back of a darkened trailer. "I've got something special for you tonight," she whispered, her breath hot and strangely fishy. That's when things got weird. As they entered the dimly lit trailer, the air grew colder, a damp, earthy chill that had nothing to do with the outside temp. Earl noticed that the walls of the trailer seemed to ripple and pulsate like some grotesque living thing. And Lizo seemed to shimmer, her shape shifting ever so slightly, her limbs elongated, her bulk becoming more fluid. Earl blinked, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. Lizo let out a low chuckle, the sound that resonated in his chest, vibrating right through him. "Don't mind that," she said, her voice now strange, echoing drone. "I'm just getting comfortable." He tried to back away, to get out of the trailer, but it was like he was moving through a trench. Lizo was blocking his path, not with her physical form, but with a psychic weight that pushed him back. He felt a strange dizziness, followed by an overwhelming feeling of being consumed. He didn't scream. He didn't have time. The next morning, a new trucker, young and eager, pulled into the big rig stop. He saw Lizo now perched on the hood of a beat-up pickup, looking much the same as the night before. He shook his head, thinking that lady's got some staying power, and went and get some coffee. The big rig truck stop continued to chum, oblivious to the horrors that lurked within the shadows. The truckers came and went, their stories of the road a constant stream of monotony and an occasional breakdown. And Lizo, the lot lizard, continued her nocturnal dance, a shape-shifting horror hidden in plain sight, a greasy, grinning enigma in the heart of West Virginia. Earl was just another story to be forgotten on the long, lonely road, another victim devoured by the grotesque appetite of the night. And truckers, they just kept on trucking. Their deadlines, they had loads to deliver, and the truth. They seldom looked too closely at the shadows or at the odd, unsettling smiles of the women waiting in the darkness. Andrea Dingbat, there was 2 tonight so far. Lizo. Ugh. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that.
Is that?
No, that's not. Waddled. I had to do the nut shaking 59th. And how are you this evening, buddy? I got one more, Maggie Mayhem. One more for the evening. Dude, I will tell you a crazy story. One night, I was driving to Florida. My daughters and my ex-wife had flown to Florida. I was driving a U-Haul truck with all our stuff, and I was going to meet them. I had dropped them off at the airport, and then I went back to our house and proceeded to pack up the rest of the stuff. So I drove right through. I left New York at like 4 p.m. And at around like 1 a.m., I got wicked tired. And I'm in West Virginia or Virginia. I think it was West Virginia. And I pull into this weird like pull off. It wasn't a truck stop, it was a pull off. Like there was a mountain on the side of me, and there was a whole bunch. There was probably like at least 10 to 12 tractor trailers pulled in this area, parked. So I pull in with my U-Haul truck, and I kind of lean back, and I just close my eyes really quick, and I kind of open my eyes up, and I was smoking cigarettes at the time. So I lit a cigarette, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, maybe I'll take like a 2-hour nap. And so I smoked my cigarette, and I flicked it out, and I put the window up, and I made sure the doors were locked. And as I'm looking out, right, I see all of these truckers just hanging out. Like they're just hanging out. And like 3 or 4 of them are in this circle, and they're doing something weird. Okay. That's as far as I will get with that. But they're doing something weird. And I laid down and I closed my eyes really quick, and I thought about what I had just seen. And I'm like, and I opened my eyes and I kind of peek my head up and I look again. And sure enough, it was happening. And I put my head back down, and I got my eyes looking at the clock on the dashboard, and I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I'm like, where the fuck am I, and what did I just see? So I sit back up and I start the U-Haul, and I'm out. I'm fucking out. It was weird, dude. Whatever they were doing was not cool. And I didn't think truckers did that shit. But that's what I said, Dustin. But I met a lot of great people from West Virginia. So in the Chicory thing, SG happened like a couple hours later. So yeah, there was 4 of them, and they were standing off to the corner, like off to the side, and they all had their wankers out, and they were fucking rubbing each other, and it was weird. And I thought I was seeing things because I was tired, like I didn't sleep good the night before. I had to drive my ex-wife and the kids to the airport. I was all upset about that. I came home. I packed the U-Haul truck by myself with all of our shit, and then drove. So I was like, did I just see that? And I'm like, I just saw that. I'm like, we're out, dude. We're out. Well, and then I stop at the freaking gas station or a truck stop in Georgia, and the asshole gives me chicory. They were playing pool, but there was no side pocket. The average range of a dogman? I'm not really sure, but dogmen can travel. So, I mean, I don't think they have an average range. They're not like a bird, you know? Yes, Larry Lindman, genitalia was out. They were all male. They were all male. I'm a very observant person, so I will explain what happened as concisely as possible. It was 1985 and my second year at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. And I was living on the upper floor of a co-ed dorm. It was going into fall, so the nights were starting to get just a little chilly. I came home late Friday night, more like the early hours of Saturday morning, from dancing and partying with friends. My dorm had a private fenced-in parking lot in the front and free to other type parking lot behind it. Since I came home so late, literally every spot was taken in the private parking lot, and I had to park the car down the hill behind the dorm. Saturday night rolled around, and even though I'm still sporting a bit of a hangover from my friends talked me into going out that night. The private parking lot was lit with a huge street light, so was the street that ran in front where the sidewalk led you to the back lot. I took off through the parking lot, stepped out onto the sidewalk, and noticed a couple, arm in arm, walking my way. I didn't think anything of it other than I was going to have to step to the side and let them by. Both were dressed like they had already been out having fun. As I reached them, I made eye contact in somewhat dimmer light. He looked at me. His eyes were red. I don't mean the whites of his eyes, like the whole friggin' eye was glowing red. I don't want to sound nuts, but it was like they were an animal's eyes reflecting in a spotlight of night, a projecting glow. Then she glanced my way as I'm passing, and her eyes were the exact same, a solid red glow. It freaked me out very badly. I ran to my car and went out to party. I did not tell anyone because I figured they'd think I was seeing things, but I've never seen anything like it since. I guess I'd put it out of my mind until I was talking to my spouse one night and the memory surfaced as a nightmare. Of course, I am not scared now. That was decades ago. I didn't know what they could have been, but it was also the way he continued to stare as I passed that really unsettling. I don't think I was supposed to see them at all. Ermic, where'd you go? Oh, you had to get fuel? Ermic was looking for Mothman. Thank you, Ermic. Thank you, my brother. And I'm really not roasting you. I really definitely am not roasting you when I give you shit about that, Ermic. It's more or less my way of thanking you, to be honest with you. All right. So, is anyone from Puerto Rico tonight in the live stream? The pan flute. Marilyn Manson made the pan flute cool again. Did you know that? Yes, he did. Eric's from Puerto Rico. Not is anyone from Puerto Rico? No? I thought there was like two of you guys were from Puerto Rico every once in a while. Tyler 420. Go outside and look around, buddy. Go outside. It's okay. No, don't go outside. I'm only fucking with you. Aramik, that's so not left. In Texas? Yes, Nick. Yes. All right. The reason why I asked is because I have two really cool encounters from Puerto Rico. My dad grew up in Costa Rica. Well, same thing. Are they both from Costa Rica? All right. Is anyone from Costa Rica? They're not from Puerto Rico. They're from Costa Rica. I'm a fucking idiot. All right. My dad grew up in Costa Rica, where it's mostly farms and agriculture. The houses are very far apart, except for a few villages. This event would have taken place sometime in the mid to late 80s. And as has been explained to me by both of my parents around this time, there weren't any phone lines, just street lights, and that's about it. My dad started working at around the age of 9. He would go to villages or centers to sell or deliver vegetables, as my grandparents grew lettuce, tomatoes, and more. He would very often stay out late, as he was required to deliver the veggies to serve several restaurants. One night, as he was heading back, a herd of goat were obstructing the road. He used a little carriage like the ones ice cream vendors tend to use in the Hispanic countries, so he couldn't just scoot by as his carriage was being blocked as well. Then from behind him, he heard a voice state, "Canto por una lechuga, muchacho." This translates to, "How much for the lettuce, young man?" When my dad turned around, he said he saw a 10-foot tall man who looked very skinny, bordering on malnourished, with pale skin. He couldn't completely see his face. However, he stated that from the little he could see its face, it was very sunken. The man was wearing overalls with a flannel shirt and a bandana on his neck with a straw hat. I know the description sounds very stereotypical. However, again, this does take place in the deep country, like an hour away from any city or town. According to my dad, the straw hat cast a shadow, thus he couldn't see the man's eyes. However, he could see his sunken cheeks and crooked teeth when he talked. My dad was weirded out, but due to how young he was, early teens, he just assumed it was a very tall man instead of something paranormal or someone he should be afraid of. Thus, Dad said the price. The man paid, and my dad handed him a head of lettuce, which, according to him, the man was able to hold with one hand comfortably. As the man walked away with the lettuce, according to my dad, the man whistled, and the goats followed him. My dad then just headed home. As said before, this took place decades ago, and the area this took place in is very isolated with no houses nearby. To explain the area better, a lot of old palm trees are grown there, thus the area where you wouldn't see any houses for a few miles. As for how he knew he was 10 feet, it was just a guess. However, he stated he was as tall as the ceiling of houses we were in when he told us this, and the ceiling was pretty high, at least 10 feet, my guess. All right, so that was one, and then here's the next one from Costa Rica. I live in Costa Rica. Back in 2009, 4 friends and I were walking home from a basketball game in the suburbs near our neighborhood. It was around 8 p.m. and dark. There were 2 ways to go into the neighborhood. The first one was a shortcut, which consisted of cutting through the middle of an abandoned paintball park in an open field that took around 10 minutes to arrive at our homes. Second was the long way. which takes 25 to 30 minutes of walking in a bright area surrounded by houses and endless illuminated roads that finish right at the entrance of the abandoned park, and then 5 minutes of walking in a semi-illuminated area. We took the shortcut like we did every time, but this time everything was quiet. No animal sounds. Abandoned dogs took shelter here. No cars sound from afar, just pure silence. One of my friends decided to start talking about how it would be cool to play with a Ouija in the middle of a field as a joke. We tell him to shut up collectively because we are all pretty scared. We all see the entrance of the park, and we all start guessing less or getting less stressed and start talking again. We are about 100 feet from the entrance when we all heard and felt stomps coming from behind us, but not regular stomps, but heavy stomps like an elephant or a bull running. We looked back and there was this strange shaped creature with really dim red eyes with horns. As it got closer, it was grayish. It was grayish and charging towards us. While walking, there was a part of the street that briefly overlooks the field, and we all looked to see it. We could see anything, but all we saw was dim red dots looking directly at us. We all went home and the next day tried to figure out what happened. 4 of us can confirm this experience. Sadly, one of my friends passed away a couple years ago. I also moved, but have to travel every weekend through the area to visit my family. It still gives me the creeps going through there at night. Yeah, I haven't seen Truth Quest either. Jane is not feeling well, guys. Nope. Definitely malevolent, 59th. Definitely. Gary, hello. Again. Hello again. All right. Love you too, Gary. A long time ago, when I first started the live stream, like 2 years ago, I think, there was a subscriber that was with us, and his name was Thunderbolt. And Thunderbolt absolutely loved giant spiders. Like, that was his cryptid of all time. He loved Dogman, but his cryptid of all time was giant spiders. And I saw this and I instantly thought of him. So I don't know where Thunderbolt is or if he's even with us anymore. But this one is for you, Thunderbolt. When I was 13 years old, my friend and I were out adventuring near a big factory in our city of Des Moines, Iowa, that was surrounded by tons and tons of trees that were not cared for. My friend wanted to go on the tree grounds and look for lizards and cicada, and I followed him around. We shuffled through the trees and brush, and after a while, he said he noticed something inside the gap of a tree. So he picked up a stick to poke at the gap. I was on the other side of the tree, and all of a sudden, I just heard him yell, "Super huge spider!" I turned around to face the tree, and along came this massive, quick as hell, greenish-brown spider, the size in morphology, just like a face hugger from the Alien movies, that crawled in a spiral downward tree. That crawled spirally downwards the tree. Having never witnessed anything like this in my whole life, I yelped at the sight of it and took off running as fast as I could with my friend right behind me. After a few seconds, he said, "Wait, let's go back and get a good look at it." But there was no way in hell I was going anywhere near that thing. However, after much convincing, I agreed to go back, but only if we stayed a good distance. So we found our way back to the tree, and that cursed thing is still hanging around there, unmoving, not even small movements. We tried to get the best look at it as we could while trying to stay at a safe distance away. I remember that it had long legs, just like that of a facehugger, just minus the tail. One strange thing about it was that it had these white and pink looking disc of flesh under its body that was wider than its body itself. My friend got a longer stick to poke at it and made it move a bit before it moved around to the other side of the tree where we couldn't see it anymore. We would have to get closer to the tree to get to the other side of it. And frankly, that at that point, we were both too freaked out to do it. So we just booked it out of there. Later on, we told our other friends, and of course, no one believed us. Dude, imagine a fucking spider the facehugger size. Ugh! I got cold chills right now. Ugh. Ugh. My husband and I had a weird encounter with what I believe to be a black-eyed kid this past winter. It was the day after Christmas, 2013, and we decided to get out of the house and take a walk. We enjoy walking the trails at Cowan's Gap State Park in Fulton County, PA. It wasn't too cold, so we decided to take a short drive to the park. The park is void of people in the winter, unless there is snow for skiers and ice skating on the lake. But we were alone. At least we thought we were alone. We were walking on the trail that passes several rented cabins. After a while, we took a short break and sat down at a picnic table located in the cabin pavilion. We were discussing how quiet it was when I noticed 4 children walking toward us. As they approached, I noticed that their eyes, especially the taller and older boy, were very dark with large irises. There were, I believe, 2 boys, 2 girls of various ages, all 4 wearing light jackets. When we reached us, the older boy asked, "Do you live here?" My husband answered, "No, this is a rental cabin." There was no reaction. One of the girls, who was very pale, reached into her pocket and pulled out a pack of cigarettes and lit one. The girl was no older than 10 years old. My husband asked her, "Aren't you a little young to smoke?" The girl looked at him, and I swear her eyes got darker and larger. She gave him a scowl that he and I will remember for the remainder of our lives. It was so vile and foreboding. I was immediately scared. Then they turned on a dime and together and started to walk away. I was speechless and shaking. My husband said, "Let's go." We briskly walked in the opposite direction toward the car. I was still very frightened and wanted to go straight home. We pulled out onto the road and headed east towards our home, which is only a half a mile or so from the park. A few days later, we were driving to Chambersburg to do some shopping. We needed to first stop at the post office at Fort London to mail some packages. My husband walked into the post office while I sat in the car. After a couple of minutes, I noticed the same 4 kids walking through the post office parking lot. Just seeing them sent chills up and down my spine. When my husband returned to the car, I told them what had happened and that I want to go home immediately. Since that time, I have suffered terrible episodes of anxiety and fear. My doctors have prescribed me medication, but I still have panic attacks that I'll encounter those kids someday again. Thank you. Three feet? A tarantula jumped 3 feet? Thank you, Arabic. 3 feet? Fuck that. Ugh. I got bit by a brown recluse 3 years ago. Tarantulas are pretty docile, I think. If you hold one and drop it, it blows up, I heard. That's just something I heard. Oh, yeah. I got bit by a black widow. She was about 50. Oh, but up. Larry Lindman, the comic tonight. I still have the scar on my leg where the infection or whatever, the necropsy or is it called necropsy, Lindman? It does slide down so smooth. How do you not like praying mantis? Praying mantis are awesome, especially when Wu-Tang sings about them. Mantis style. Necrosis. Thank you. Necrosis. I love praying mantis. They are awesome. The truth, you are right. And you know what's better than a Coke in a glass bottle? Mexican Coke in a glass bottle. Sully, that's very interesting, but that's scary. 4,000 watts. Spiders do not like you. Yeah, the never-ending story. Yup. Boiled peanuts are filthy. Just to put peanuts in glass bottles. Why? Mexican Coke in a straw. Boiled peanuts in the Coke bottle. Yuck. I love soda too, but boiled peanuts are absolutely the grossest shit I've ever tasted in my life. Other than Lizo, the lot lizard's lips. Oh, yeah. Salted peanuts in a soda. Interesting. I love boiled peanuts. That is very disgusting. Do you eat boiled peanuts, Gary? I bet you Gary eats boiled peanuts. Ugh. I rarely share this experience because of what I want others to believe about me and because it truly scares me. In fact, it scares me more than anything else in my life, more than my rational fears, more than any real risk. This is the most terrifying experience of my life. It was 2008. I was recently married, and my wife and I had driven to Las Vegas from Flagstaff for dinner. Tito, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. For dinner. After an evening there, we were driving back because we had no money for a hotel. I hadn't been drinking. I was of stable mind. It was late and I was a bit tired, but I was young and had some coffee. It was after midnight and lightly snowing. My wife was asleep next to me as I drove. I was listening to some AM country music. I like driving like that. I just relax and think. I don't believe in the supernatural. Even when I was a Christian, I was never very into the either ethereal world of angels and demons and ghosts. I never felt very spiritual. But as I drove along on this empty road, I thought I heard my wife say something. I looked at her and she was asleep, but I looked through her window and saw someone or something running next to our car. He was about the height of a truck, maybe a little taller. He ran full speed. He had dark, long hair and piercing eyes. His nose like a muzzle, but to a point like a coyote. He had a beaded shirt with beads that made a shallow V across his chest. His arms were scrawny and his face sunken and hairy. As he ran, he turned to me and bared his teeth. I immediately lost all breath from my lungs and was frozen. I gripped the wheel to control the vehicle, turned away from him, and looked back. He was losing lateral distance from the vehicle, but still keeping pace. I turned back to the road and hit the gas. I looked over again and he was gone. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw nothing on the road, nothing ahead. I sat frozen, holding the wheel and speeding down the road. I hadn't made a noise. My wife hadn't woken up. I didn't say a thing. I didn't stop to rest of the way. I didn't stop the rest of the way either. When I got to Flagstaff, I woke my wife up and went to bed, but I couldn't sleep. Even as I write this down now, I still have a feeling of dread. I've spent tons of time in the desert, in the forest, camping and hiking. I feel fine at night in a cemetery. I have seen flying objects and assumed a logical reason for them. But I have no explanation for what happened that night. I saw it. It happened. Maybe I fell asleep. Maybe it was a dream. But I don't personally believe that. I don't personally believe it. That thing was there. Years later, I recounted this experience to someone who lives in the area, who is Navajo. They told me that what I saw was a skinwalker, or the Yenadalushi, and it made sense. Right now, I am afraid a grown man can be drawn close to tears from this. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in angels or ghosts. I don't believe in God, but I believe in skinwalkers. How do you believe in skinwalkers and not God? Because skinwalkers are magic. They're shamans. They're black magic shamans. For not believing in God. Andy Davis, welcome back. What a dank hole. Yes, shapeshifters and skinwalkers are similar. Skinwalkers are a Navajo medicine man that practices black magic. Some shapeshifters can be that from different native cultures, but there are shapeshifters that are not medicine men. Like the Rugaru is a shapeshifter. I haven't seen Pups or Eunice either. Thank you, 59th. No, crazy cubby. Liz, have a good night. Thank you so much. By the way, I started looking at that book the other night on the Path to Immortals. It's fucking great. Thank you for sending that to me. I appreciate it. What up, High Strangeness? Was it welcome back? Welcome back, Cotter. In your Cotter, Andy Davis. Oh. All right. This is the last lot lizard story of the evening. The third lot lizard story of the evening. What is more dangerous? Dogman, werewolf, or shapeshifter? It depends. What's stronger? Werewolves are stronger. Shapeshifters can change shape, and dogmen are aggressive as fuck. So I wouldn't know, to be honest with you. I've been good, Tina Marie. How about you? Eastern Oklahoma Cherokee. Do you have your CDIB, Stacy Mathis? Yes, it is Pete, the lot lizard. And here we go. The flickering neon sign of the last chance gas and grub cast a greasy purple glow across the cracked asphalt. Pete, a man whose age was as ambiguous as his hygiene habits, leaned against the chip paint of the building, a cigarette dangling from his lips like a lazy leech. He was a sight, a walking, breathing testament to a life lived on the fringes, with a wardrobe seemingly sourced from a dumpster and a perpetual smirk that promised trouble. Pete wasn't just any lot lizard. He was Pete, the shifting scoundrel. He was also, to put it mildly, exceptionally annoying and, well, a bit of a pervert. His usual shtick was teasing truckers, not in the menacing, threatening way, but in the kind of campy, almost theatrical lewdness that somehow managed to both offensive and strangely hilarious. He'd strut around in a too small tank top, his pot belly straining against the fabric, winking suggestively at the drivers who simultaneously mocking their rigged paint job. Tonight, his target was Big Joe, a burly man whose beard probably housed a family of small rodents. Joe, fresh off a long haul, was attempting to wrestle a lukewarm cheeseburger from the wrapping. Pete slid up, his voice low and gravelly. Well, well, Big Joe, fancy meeting you here. That burger looks pretty lonely. Perhaps it needs a little company. He punctuated the statement with a suggestive wiggle of his eyebrows that seemed to defy the laws of anatomy. Joe just grunted, trying to ignore Pete. Not that ignoring Pete was ever successful. Pete pouted, then in a move that never ceased to startle the same way a toddler drop a live goldfish does, he shapeshifted. In one moment, he was a greasy, pot-bellied man. The next, a ridiculously over-muscled, sparkly pink flamingo. One leg cocked in the parody of a pin-up pose. Ooh, you're not a fan of the human form? Perhaps you prefer a little feathery fun. The flamingo Pete chirped in the same gravelly voice, the words coming out soundingly incredibly wrong. Joe, mid-chew, choked, spraying burger bits across the pavement. He stared, mouth agape, at the improbable pink bird. Other truckers, drawn to the commotion, cautiously peeked out of the rig. One of the men, named Earl, let out a bewildered laugh. Is that Pete? Pete the flamingo dipped his head in a gesture that was both incredibly comical and vaguely unsettling. For all of his strange antics, no one had ever seen him truly shift quite so. They'd seen a brief morph into a scrawny, hairless chihuahua and a burly, wiggling blob that they assumed was the scented pile of napkins. But this was something else entirely. The humor, however, was quickly replaced with a growing unease. The way the flamingo's single black eye seemed to follow him, how the gravelly voice seemed to come from the depths within his feathered chest. It was all too bit much. And then the flamingo started to tap dance, its impossibly pink legs flailing in a bizarre, disjointed jig. It was simultaneously the funniest and most terrifying thing they had ever witnessed. Joe, recovering from the burger choking incident, finally found his voice. All right, you thing. You've had your fun. Why don't you go back to being, well, you? He rubbed his temple. A bead of sweat trickled down his forehead. The flamingo Pete stopped mid-tap, his head tilting slightly. Back to being me? The voice took on a strange quality, almost a whisper. The pink feathers seemed to ripple. Then, with a shiver, the flamingo dissolved. Instead of Pete, however, there was a large, pulsating mass of what looked like wet gray putty. It jiggled and quivered as if desperately trying to get into anything unrecognizable. Sorry. The trucker backed away. Even Earl, who had been openly laughing just moments before, was nervously glancing at his truck door. Pete, Joe stammered, his earlier bravado completely gone. The gelatinous blob attempted to speak, resulting in a low gurgling sound that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. It pulsated again and then, with a wet slap, reformed into Pete. He stood there, covered in a thin sheen of what appeared to be a raw egg white, grinning wickedly. Did you enjoy the show, boys? His rasped voice sounded back to its usual gravelly self. A few loose feathers clung to his hair, bobbing pathetically. He picked up a feather from his hair and blew on it. Don't worry, that's just my transitional form. I like to keep y'all on their toes, he wriggled, picking up where he left off, and the wiggling eyebrows had Joe. Joe was groaned back inside, his desire for a shower becoming more urgent with each passing moment. The other truckers cautiously went back to their cabs, giving Pete a wide berth, their laughter replaced with a healthy dose of bewilderment and the creeping dread of not knowing what or who Pete may turn into next. Pete, the shifting, smirking menace, watched them, a satisfied glint in his eye. He adjusted his tank top, ready for his next target. After all, the night was young, the highway was long, and Pete, the shifting scoundrel, was just getting started. All right. Last encounter of the night, family. It was about 3 years ago, back in November, when I was working at a small gas station in Northeast Louisiana. We were the only small shop and 24-hour service station for miles, just off the highway. I worked the night shift, and I loved it. The sharing of stories with the traveling customers, that is, when a rare customer showed up. It must have been around 3 in the morning. I was cleaning the floors and locking the beer coolers when suddenly the lights went out. I pulled out my cell and used it as a guiding light until I made it back to the counter, where I kicked on the generator. It lit up the parking lot, the bathrooms, and the hall leading to the register. When I looked outside, I could just make out some movement of the trees across the street, but otherwise it was pitch black. I turned on the radio and started listening to the local station with its night owl DJ, commenting on heavy winds and cracking jokes between songs. Suddenly, I saw figures in the dark. I could just make them out. They seemed to be a group of kids on bicycles. There were three of them. Two of them dropped their bikes and made their way to the door, where they just stood staring at me. I just stared back for a moment, waiting for them to come in. They never did. I moved around the counter and opened the door. "What's up, guys? Out kind of late, aren't we?" I asked them, expecting them to come in. "Can we use your phone?" one asked, their heads tilted kind of low. I felt a little worried as I pulled my cell from my pocket and offered it to her. "Sure." She looked back at me and said, and then I saw her eyes. They were solid black, almost ink-filled orbs. "No, I need a real one," she said, her face twisted in an angry snarl. I pulled the door closed and flipped the locks. "No, no, ma'am. You go home and get your mom's phone." They stared at me through the door for a minute longer until turning away and biking off. The next day, I had my boss check the cameras to get pictures of these creepy kids. But guess what? The cameras had been off the whole time. Now the cameras run off the generator instead of the hall lights. I never saw those scary, creepy kids ever again. All right, guys, I have got to crash. I am fucking beat. So thank you once again for hanging out with me this Saturday evening. I have literally kind of just beat myself up physically with lack of sleep lately. So just thank you for everything. Thank you for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's experiences. I hope you liked the lot lizard stories. And I really feel blessed. Honestly, I feel blessed every Saturday with you guys. You guys make my Saturday just friggin' amazing. So thank you. You know, you guys have no idea how much you guys affect my life and make me smile during these live streams. You know, I feel like we're all friends and family. So, and I really do mean that. I really do. So, with that, Gary, I just said I'm completely exhausted. With that, thank you again. And I will see you next Saturday. But of course, there will be uploads all next week too. So with that, love you guys and see you next week.